Are you able to hear now? All right. Great news. There seems to be a little bit of a delay between my video that I'm seeing here and the chat, but I'm just going to roll with it. I think we're doing okay. All right. Connor, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Do let me know, if you would, if there's any other issues with sound or anything, video strange. It looks good on my end, but, you know, how do I know what everybody else is seeing? But thanks for joining me today. All right. Okay, so I think I'm trying to wait for the video again to catch up. So I'll try not to do that, to keep this, you know, entertaining and not with a lot of pauses. All right, so I am continuing work on the Hasegawa F-8 Crusader. And this is where I'm at so far. If you've been watching the F-8, if you watched the F-8 video, you saw that I was beginning the construction phase. And at this point, I'm certainly in the painting, or having painted the model already. So, and you'll notice here I've got some stars and some red bits on it, and these are painted on. I just started using a silhouette cameo mask cutter. Essentially, it's for crafting of all types. But in the model world, it looks like people have been using them to cut out masks. And to that end, I decided to cut out some stars and other shapes. And as you can see, it's been fairly successful. I was able to cut a mask for the 8 here on the F8, and then these individual stars. The other shapes here I just created using Tamiya tape for curves, which is a thin, kind of a white tape, and you can kind of pull on it and make it curve, and very, very useful. So that's how I achieved the red and white bands here. But the stars, I used masks, and I used Tamiya tape, not your normal Tamiya tape, but there's a Tamiya masking tape that's sort of like a 9x12, if I remember correctly. I think that was the dimensions. And you place it into the cameo and it cuts out these shapes for us. So yeah, I've been having fun with it. This is my first real attempt at it. And I imagine, you know, I'll only do better as time goes on. So I'm excited to use it. All right, Arnell, nice to see you, bud. 5x5. Nice Aliens quote there. Love it. Absolutely one of my favorite movies of all time, Aliens. Oh my gosh. I love it better than Alien. I have another friend, Eric, who we go back and forth and argue about which one's better. For me, Aliens, that's the one I grew up on. All right. So yeah, we're going to continue with now adding proper decals. There are limitations to the silhouette cameo, and those are, you can't really do stencils at least for 1/48 scale and smaller. And you know, there's kind of only so much, like I just don't want to keep like adding masks and spray painting on this thing. At some point I just wanted to stop and go ahead and use the decals. Again, I'm just, you know, easing myself into using this masking process. But yeah, I've got a whole array of decals to work with on this kit, because I'm sure as all we do, I'm sure as all of us do, we like to collect decal sets and intend on using them, and then buy another set and intend on using that one and buy another set. So that's the situation I am in, but it's not a bad place to be. But here are the decals from that you get in the box of the F-8 Crusader. And as you can see, I wanted to do the VMFA, make sure I get the acronym or the acronym right, VMFA 235. And this is the group with the stars and the red here. I've always loved, as you probably noticed with all my recent builds, I love the old monogram kits, the box art. But I'm not using the monogram kits themselves. I'm using other Hasegawa and other Tamiya and other kits like that. So I'm trying to emulate what was found on that box art. So I'm not going to use all of this here, but the stenciling I will use. And as you can see here, I've cut up quite a few of these to remove as much of the decal clear bits as I could to prevent absolutely as much silvering as I could. So we'll be working with those, but before I get to stenciling, I always deal with the larger decals first. This chair is a little squeaky. Let me try to adjust this here. All right. The reason is on aircraft, they'll have stenciling down, and then they'll put their own sort of squadron colors on. And I've actually seen a lot of situations where they would replace the stenciling. So they would have the squadron markings on and then replace the stenciling. So that's the kind of method I like to work with. I like to get the biggest stuff on first. Also, it's a little bit easier to manage. If I'm holding the model a whole bunch, then I'm not having to worry about those little stencils. All right. The model has received a gloss coat. It's actually one of my best gloss finishes. It's very smooth. I was pretty excited about it when it went down. And I just used Tamiya Clear. I think it's X22. I think that's right. That's been my kind of go-to at this point. For a while, I was really championing the Mission Models gloss, but I found that the Tamiya works really, really great. So it's less sticky. I can use it with the Mr. Leveling Thinner. There's just all kinds of benefits to it. So, all right. First thing I need to do is, I think I'm going to place the DB lettering on the vertical stabilizer first. All right, I've got here a glass jar of water placed on a coffee cup heater. I find decals work best when the water is warm, and it's lukewarm at this point. So I think we're ready to go. I didn't get really a lot of time to prepare my setup here. I was dealing with the live stream and making sure that everything was going smoothly. And it looks like it's working out so far. All right. Thanks again for joining me, guys. I really appreciate this. If you could in the chat, let me know what you are working on. I'd love to know. Eric, good to see you, bud. There he is. All right, I was just mentioning to them how you and I have a slight disagreement about what we like best, Alien and Aliens. Feel free to chime in and give a plug to Alien if you wish. All right. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the DB here. And as you can see, I've already cut the clear sections out. Hopefully, as I was splicing this way and splicing this way, they met at a corner, and I'm not just going to have pieces kind of hanging off. That might happen, and if that happens, I'll deal with it in the moment. All right, let's see. Tweezers, we like to work with these, will be good here. All right, I'm gonna let the decal stay in the water just for a few seconds. I don't like to just leave it in the water. My understanding is by leaving it in the water, the adhesive starts to go away, and we want to keep the adhesive on the decal. I don't proclaim to be an expert on decals. I've done enough of them, but I'm constantly trying to like figure out how people do their decals. I've come across some really, really nice work. Oh, I put the wrong side. Okay. And I feel like decals is a spot that I could continually try to improve on. All right, so this needs to go on the starboard side of the aircraft. And what I need to do real quick is just make sure that I know where it's going to be placed. So let me consult my instructions here. I've got quite a few different instructions to work with. Ultimately, I'm using the cutting edge. Oh boy, that's not true. I'm using the cutting edge decals. These were not very easy to get a hold of. Yeah, and you know what? They're not even very clear. They only give me the left side of the aircraft decal placement, so I'm kind of on my own, but what I'll do is I'll just look at the side they do give me and try to compare it to this side here. All right. So, right about there. Trying to touch the decal here. Okay. I do want to see if I can get some of those clear bits lifted up. Okay, there we go. So we got a piece there. Get that out of the way. That one, and ooh, that one seems a little stuck there. Let's try one more time. If it's not going to give, I really don't want to pull it. So let me get my visor going here. Take a quick second to do this right. Okay, got it. Lift that piece out of the way. I dip in the water just a little bit more here. All right, good. Now I've also cut them, the decal right down the middle as well. So this is going to, I'm gonna have to make sure that they're aligned with each other as well as being lined up. I'm gonna start with the D first. Make sure you guys can see this okay. All right. Back a little bit. Oh, see, we're snagged on the corner, starting to pull. Okay. So this is one of the downsides to cutting off all the clear bits, is that we don't have the protection of one solid piece. All right. I think we'll be okay though. Let's try that again. All right. Got it down. Okay, now I'm going to try to line up according to where it is on the other side. I've also got some references here on a desktop computer I'm using over here. And really, I'm going to have to rely on those the most because as good as this decal set is, there are some inaccuracies. All right, so it needs to be, what I need to look at is not necessarily the line going this way lining up, but really the lower line. It's a little bit on that panel actually. Okay. The lower line and making sure it's parallel with the direction of the aircraft. That looks pretty good. Now, I can see some bits. I got little wrinkles here and there, so I'm just gonna gently press down. If I were to roll across the decal, I think it would drag it, so I'm not trying not to do that. I can push a little bit. All right, now let's go add the B. It's kind of funny that I'm starting off with the letters DB. This is an abbreviation of an insult to someone, at least here in the States. I'm not sure, Connor can attest to how it is in Canada. I'm not sure if that's one you guys use. All right, and again, I'm trying to make sure that the distance between the two letters themselves are pretty close to correct as well. That looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Make sure you guys can see us okay. All right, again, I'm trying to make sure that they're going parallel with the aircraft. Not parallel with the fin and the panels there. All right, I think that'll work. A quick note about the decals, and I mentioned their inaccuracy. I'm looking right now at a photo of this actual aircraft. I could talk about that as well. This aircraft, the number 8, I have 2 photos that are, they presumably show the aircraft with the same paint job, but at different years. So either they did a touch-up or they repainted the vehicle and adjusted a few things. So the 2 photographs actually show discrepancies, which is always fun to deal with. And on top of that, this set of decals, which ostensibly is the most up-to-date decals, it shows these 3 stars kind of clustered together. And in fact, they do that in the decals themselves. They're kind of clustered. But in reality, the aircraft, these should not be so close. These should be more centered between these 2 sets of stars. So another reason to mask my own stars and do my own painting, which is strange, you know, because these are decals based on better research, supposedly, but was it Aeromaster? I think it was Aeromaster here. They came out with their set of decals in the 90s, and as you can see here, the more accurately shows how the stars should be lined up. So just comparing these 2, and of course the reds are also different, right? So I get to kind of choose my red. I kind of split the difference between the 2. This is a little bit more orange to me. I kind of went just with the standard Tamiya red, and I thought that worked out really, really well. So, but anyway. I don't know. Is there any set of decals that's perfect? I don't know. But another thing that is lacking in these instructions, I want to make sure I'm not missing a page of them. There's information on the top side, but just for the Navy aircraft, not the Marine one. Okay, so I didn't really know the placement of anything up here, but after doing some research, it turns out it looks like they only have the stars and bars, but nothing up on the right side. I've looked at other aircraft, other sets of decals, in fact. I even went to like 72nd scale decals and was trying to see if if they gave me any sort of information as to the alignment of decals or the arrangement of decals on the wings, and every one of them just showed one set of stars and bars and nothing else. That said, let me just go ahead and take a look at the chat here. I want to see how everybody's doing. All right. Yeah, Eric's working on his Sherman. Awesome. Tacom PL01 prototype, an Academy P47. Oof. Fantastic. And the Tiger Meat decals. Cool. All right, from Nationals. Nice. And the Soviet 130A2 to Bereg coastal defense gun. Holy cow. Oh, Connor, you're American. I apologize. Oh, man. What an insult. No, I'm just kidding. I apologize about that. Hey, okay. Oof. Let me not make that mistake again. All right. Well, cool. I'm glad you guys everybody's building something, and sounds we got some interesting subjects here. Another thing to note on the Crusader, on this decal set, they're showing, bare metal or natural metal or whatever we call it. Basically, that's silver at the wing tips, but I cannot seem to find photos that really show a drastic amount of silver on the tips of the wings. It's certainly not as far up as it shows on the decals. You can see here on the model itself, there is a little bit of demarcation here. So if anything, there should be just a little strip, but they're not here. And for now, I'm gonna leave it off until I get real good confirmation that there was in fact silver. I will say some of my photos, it looks like it's silver at the tips, and even up along here on the tail, but I'm not confident enough that that was the case. So I'm gonna leave it off for now. If anybody finds anything different, let me know, and I can always add that later. It's not a big deal. But, okay. Yeah, another issue with these decal instructions. All right, let's keep going. What I need to do now is just kind of keep an eye on this decal, make sure as it's drying, everything's working out. We're not getting many bubbles here, it looks like. It's just great. Okay. And I'll consider putting some, I don't know, I've tried a whole bunch of different decal setting solutions. I've got Mark Fit, I've got Mark Fit Strong somewhere, so the Tamiya brand. And I just always keep coming back to Microset and Microsol. I don't know, it's so funny. We just always, I just always keep thinking that the latest and greatest stuff is gonna work best, and even this Solvaset from Walthers, this stuff is intense. I've had good luck with this stuff. In fact, I even went ahead and bought another one as a backup. But I'm slowing down using it. With the A1, the Sky Raider in particular, it really messed up one of my decals. And I don't know, I do blame it on the Solvaset. And I might have just had too much on it and it just started to really eat through the decal. And that wasn't the first time I've had an issue with it. So I'm just gonna stay away from it unless I'm absolutely desperate and I've tried everything else. But for now, I'm pretty much gonna stick with microscale stuff. I got this nifty little holder too, because if you know anything about these, they tip over only when the lid is off and you're just about to use it. So as you can see here, I've only got that much left, and that's because I've spilled the bottle at least twice. So I decided to go on Amazon, and this guy, Jeff, did it. Pretty cool. I'll give him a little plug here. He makes some really neat little containers, and they're all different colors. This is the color I just decided to get, just so I can see it easily. There's other ones for Tamiya jars as well. So all of your extra thin cement and all the other kinds will fit there, which is really neat. So I'm I'll definitely be getting a few more of those to add to the workbench. All right, but I'm happy with how it's turning out. Yeah. All right, let's keep pushing forward. Yeah, good call, Eric. Let's see here. Eric gave me an excellent DVD about Navy aircraft, and it's got literal like footage from Vietnam where they're just taking off in the aircraft carrier, and that's like all it is. It's really great. It's like a half hour of just watching aircraft take off, and the guys working on the, chaining them down and getting them lined up to the catapult. Really, really great DVD. I should revisit that. You're absolutely right. There are still other questions about this airplane, and that's an excellent resource. You're absolutely right. All right, Connor, got a new tool you might want to look into. They're called glass files, but made from glass and only bite the part you're trying to sand and don't destroy surrounding detail. Interesting. Okay, that's good to know, Connor. If you happen to have, I don't know, a link or somewhere, did you get it online, or if you could put that in the chat, I would certainly appreciate it. I've got other files, these Stedel kind. I don't know if they're not glass per se though. These are for buffing. Yeah, I don't know if that's what you were talking about or not, but yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that tip. I'll look into that. All right. Cool. Anything else? Okay, let's keep moving. All right. All right. Let's go with the numbers now. Zero, 3, 2, 8. I did make some decent masks for these, but ended up not doing them. Yeah, I probably should have used them because I did spend quite a bit of work, basically in the silhouette cameo, you can scan the decals, which is really useful, but it has a hard time kind of getting the squared off shapes, and so I had to go into the program itself in their studio program and adjust some of the corners, and I did I thought a really, really fantastic job on that. But just never got around to putting the masks on. That's all right. Okay, so we're going to use these. These ones a little bit tricky. I don't want to sit here and cut out all these squares. I think I'm going to go for it on these. Okay, I'm going to use them as is. Am I going to regret this decision? What do you guys think? I'm going to take a look. Take a closer look here. Yeah. All right, let's take a vote. What do you guys think I should do? Should I just go ahead and use it, or should I cut? That's not going to be a very fun time cutting out this section. I think we can do a nice job without cutting them out. All right, go ahead and vote in the chat, guys. Let me know. Let me know if this is going to work out or not. Okay, dip them in the water here. Let it sit for a second. I built this exact kit probably 20-something years ago, and only really recently actually liked the F-8 Crusader. The design isn't, it looks fast, but for me, for some reason, it was never as cool looking as the A7 Corsair. And then after doing research and learning about the history and how much the pilots respected this aircraft, I started to develop an interest, and then at one point I was looking out for a Hasegawa A4 to purchase, which, as you know, I built and made a video of. And at the same time, I just picked up an F-8 Crusader and don't regret it. I'm really, really loving this vehicle. All right. I think our decal's just about ready. Yep. Okay. For this one, I think I'm going to put a little bit of microset down. Get a nice clean brush here. All right. Now, see, I'm making a mistake here. We got to keep the container in the container. All right. And yeah, I'm going to lay some of the microset down. This will help the decal settle down. Let's move a little better. Okay. I think we're good. Uh-oh. There we go. Oh, geez. All right. Make sure you guys can see us okay. Sorry about that. I will say modeling is very difficult on camera. There are times where I wish I had just gotten better shots for my videos, but sometimes there's just nothing you can do. You have to pull the model to where you can see it in the light, and sometimes that just, you're just gonna move it away from the camera. That's just the way it is. Do let me know though if there's any issue, guys, in the chat. Let me know if there's again, any sound issues or anything looks weird visually. I'm happy to fix it. But yeah, it's an interesting way to build models for sure. Okay, this looks fine. I'm fussing with it a little too much. I think it's gonna be just fine. Good. You know, I think, fingers crossed, I don't think I'm gonna get much silvering on this one. All right. Yeah, Last Gunfighter, absolutely. Yep. You must choose wisely. Excellent. Okay, can't post a link. Okay, but they're called Ansai Hobby Grinding Tools Glass Polishing Files for Scale Models. Okay, cool. I'll look into that. Thanks, Connor. Appreciate it. All right. I do plan on doing live streaming every Saturday at this point. I think this time works out well for me. Hope it works out for you guys. There may be the occasional Saturday I miss, but I'm feeling pretty good about this. I'm feeling like this is something I can get back into and maintain. Summer's coming up. I'm a teacher, so that means I get the summer off, which is sweet, right? Good 3 months. And that's coming up in a couple of weeks here. About 2 more weeks of school left. So, all right, let's keep going. Let's plow through. I'm going to go for, let's go for the Marines here. VMFA W235. At one point, I did know what that all stood for. I don't recall right now. We could probably figure it out. Okay. I did cut at the triangles here of the M, and then I just was like, you know, I'm probably not going to worry about too much. Let's double check though. I did also cut right at the line down here. There's a connector, a clear piece that's basically connecting Marines and VMF. So I decided to cut that out. But otherwise, we're just going to go for it here. It should be lined up. Double check here. Yeah, just forward the silver spot here. All right. Got a noisy bird outside my window, apparently. I live in an area where we have lots of birds from whatever that is. From quail to turkey. We get the scrub jay, turkey vultures, red-tailed hawk, that sort of thing around here. It's very interesting. Yeah, I think that's a mockingbird back out there. My least favorite bird. They are so aggressive. Sound is very quiet. Okay. Well, let me see. Let me see if I can do something here to just adjust a little bit. Oh, get some weird playback here. Okay, what am I looking for? There we go. All right, I might be able to. All right, how does that sound? Did I fix anything with that level? Let me know. Too loud. Oh no. Sorry. All right. Let me know now if that's better. I apologize if I hurt anyone. Better. Okay. Cool. All right, I'll be sure not to shout. All right, I think we're ready for the marine decal. Right about here, I'm going to pull up because I'm trying to pull away from the two little pieces I took off. Okay, well, we're not going to do that. Let's get some water going. Okay. Using metal to move the decal around does make me nervous. I tend to do it. I'll use tweezers, but yeah, probably not the best way to do it. All right, so it looks like the letter comes right up to, I can't remember if that's a landing light right there. Actually, no, that's an early version of what they would call slime lights, this guy right here. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. The slime lights would end up being big yellow pieces kind of all over the aircraft, but they started out, and I think these ones were red. All right, so this decal is going to sit nicely on top of these vents, which is going to be fun. So I'll have to cut. Yeah, I'll have to cut cut them at the slits, the slots there. Slits, I guess. All right, make sure it's straight across. It's looking pretty good. Sometimes if I pull at the end a little bit, it straightens everything out. Removes the wrinkles. And this one I'm going to pull down. I do need to use tweezers here, I think. Nope. Oh, decal came off. There we go. Be real careful here. All right, let's grab one corner, see if that helps. There we go. Okay. Okay, I want to pick up some of this liquid here. And I forgot to use the decal sole or set. That's okay. It's okay. All right. I'm checking back and forth, making sure. I have two, like I said, I have two photos of this aircraft where they show slightly different versions. Like one paint job looks one way, and the other, the paint job, I'm guessing years later, was adjusted. Of course, I don't have a photo though of this side, the starboard side. So I'm just kind of basing it off of what I see. And this looks pretty close, actually. All right, I'm happy with that. I'm gonna leave that. Good. Yeah. This is a good reminder for me that, you know, I have to like balance whether I build a model because that's the scheme that I want to do, or I build a model because I happen to have enough references to back stuff up. I'm sure we're all like this on some level. If you build models, there's a level of pickiness, right? That you just inherently have. And so I try my best to get as close to the real thing as I can. And, you know, with vehicles like this, with aircraft like this, they're not going out and doing walk-around shots. You know, they're not necessarily, you know, inviting people over to Vietnam bases and letting them just take a bunch of photographs of the vehicles, you know, and to what end, right? So we don't have a lot of visual evidence. And so that's always kind of tricky for me because I've got to, when I build something, or if I build something even in World War II, I mean, obviously the further back we go, the less information and photos we have. And so you have to like let that side of you go a little bit, like say, okay, it's close enough, and close enough at times can be good enough. It's really tricky to find that balance. At some point, I'll be building a Great Wall Hobby MiG-29 Fulcrum. Absolutely love that vehicle. Loved it ever since I was a kid in the 80s. It was like the vehicle, you know, that the Russians had. It was like the latest and greatest, you know. And I don't think I'm going to get a lot of references for that specific vehicle from that specific era. And I'm just going to have to be okay with that. All right. Okay, let's keep pushing forward. Try to work out any bubbles I see here. The DB is still working fine, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. Once this gets, oh no, I took off some of that M. All right, we have an emergency here. Let's go ahead and fix it. Get a little bit of water. Yep, of course lifted it off with the water and on the finger, okay. All right, here's what I want to do. I want to put it right back on the side that came up. I don't want to get the side mixed up, okay. And then, damage just a little bit. I'm going to flip it. Looks like that's the corner there. All right. Not the end of the world. Even if I lost that little piece, there are ways to mask off and repaint it. Oh, let's be real careful though. Masking on top of decals. Boy, I've learned my lesson there a couple of times. Oh, hang on. It's just a little piece of hair there. Hair's underneath these decals. That's where you get the silvering, so you gotta be real careful. dust and all that. But yeah, I've attempted masking on top of decals and then ripped that decal right off. It happened with the intruder, in fact. All right, I need to pull this one a little closer to me. It's gonna be out of the frame of the camera. Bear with me for just a minute. There we go. Perfect. All right. We're not gonna touch that for a while. Let that sit. Yeah, so what I do recommend if you do need to mask over decals, I like to use just Post-it notes. They're really low tack. And in fact, I probably won't even do the sticky part. I'll just hold them over, tape them off on other parts of the plane, and, you know, take two pieces, line them up, and then shoot that black. And that'll work just fine. I did that with my F-100D Super Saber. There were some stripes on it that needed to be blue instead of the black that they put on the decals, again, looking at references. And so I used Post-it notes for that. It worked out great. And like I said, I had a big section came off of the tail of where it says NH on the A6 Intruder. And I was able to recover most of the decal, which is interesting. You're pulling decal off from tape. And I said, oh, that actually worked. I couldn't believe it. I got like 80% of it off. The rest of it I just brushed using Vallejo model color paints and was able to match the colors just right. So, yep. I want to show you guys some of the things I got. As Arnell knows, oh, you want to do the key version. Nice. MiG-29, yeah. Yep. Yeah, Eric, you do make a good point. The percentage of people who see your model and know the vehicle well enough to know what you did wrong is extremely small. Very true. Yep. Struggling on how to do a camo mask for one of my projects. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, is it an aircraft, Connor? Or a military vehicle? I do want to show you though, Arnell, I mentioned I contacted you. I'll be purchasing a Super Saber from you. I hope you still got it. As soon as I get some cash in my wallet, which I all of a sudden not carrying around cash that much anymore, but once I get some cash in my wallet, I'll head over to your home and pick up that Saber. But I also got, let's see, this guy here, the F-16A. This is the 4th F-16A I've got in the last 2 years. The reason is I want to build the FSD red, white, and blue F-16. I also got those decals, by the way, from Arnell, so I totally appreciate that, bud. Yeah, so that's another F-16A to acquire. Let's see. It's a Czech artillery gun. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. I do recommend the AK. If you haven't used this stuff before, the AK, that black putty that they have, masking putty. Oh, I think it's in a different drawer. That stuff works well. The only tricky part with it is once you find the right shape, you gotta spray kind of quickly. Otherwise, it starts to move and wants to form into basically its own blob. So with that stuff, you gotta work a little bit at a time and kind of have your airbrush loaded up and ready to go. But yeah, I recommend that stuff. Also, you know what I did on this one? Because we needed a fade, and I've been doing quite a bit of research. It looks like most aircraft have fade. Even what looks like the most fine line, when you get up close to them, it turns out there always pretty much is a fade on aircraft. But aside from that, what I've been doing is taking either pieces of paper, but really these 3x5 cards, these are great, and rolling up Tamiya tape and just rolling it up so it creates some lift, and then setting the piece here, and there's some lift, and I just shoot straight across. And that's the tricky part. You really want to shoot straight across. If you're going to go up and down, that's where you're going to get that overspray, and it's just not going to look even. But if I set it here, I hope you guys can see this okay. It's lifted away and shoot straight perpendicular to the aircraft or the model, and just go straight across. It gets a nice fade on it. And I can go, I can use one strip of tape and roll it, or I can get a couple of strips and sort of layer them on top of each other. And that's how I can determine how much it's lifted from the surface. And to me, this is really the best, for me, it's the best way to do it. And then of course I can also, cut out these little shapes and stuff, right? So I get that sort of look. And you can see here, there's a lot of jags and stuff. I'll do it a little more carefully so I get nice curves. But even with these here, if it's far away enough, you see the shape and you don't really see these little like jagged edges and stuff. So I'm at the point right now where that's how I'm doing camouflage. But I imagine on an artillery gun, if you got to do it on the cannon itself, could be a little tricky. Yeah, cool. All right. Everybody having a good time? I hope so. All right. Let's keep going here. All right, we got a little decal. It goes on the bottom here. Some more vehicle code information. Oh. Got a busy workbench today. There it is, okay. Again, these pieces are too small to worry about cutting out the film. There's not a lot of overhang, so I'm not too worried about it. Oh, I will say, aside from the star issue on some of the decals, I've looked at other people using these decals and even the Aeromaster ones, and they work out quite well. You don't see a lot of wrinkles and a lot of issues with them. So if you don't have a way of masking, these work out just fine. Yeah, in fact, I said to myself, if the masking just doesn't work out, I'll just go ahead and use the decals. It's not a big deal. But I am happy how it turned out. Once I get real solid on using the Silhouette Cameo, I would be happy to help any of you guys, if you need any masks or anything, just let me know. I don't feel confident just yet. I'm just now working out how to work through the studio and sort of adjust things. But I think within the next couple of months, I should, hopefully I improve. So yeah, reach out to me if there's anything that you need. And if I can't do it, I've also got a few people, particularly a guy in Belgium who has been helping me with a lot of information, and he actually does he does stuff for people. He'll make masks for you. I believe there's a small charge, but I'm sure it'd be worth it. I invited him to the stream, but I realized, oh, it's like 4 a.m. right there, out there, so he's probably not awake. All right, this one I'm having a little bit difficulty here. Let's see. This goes right under the horizontal stabilizer. Yep, that's not going to work. Let's find a better way to do this. I think I'm just going to lift it. All right. yeah, it's pretty much right in the center of this panel, just above the stars there. Again, I'm just trying to look at the photo or the instructions here. It's right up to that little hatch. Okay, that'll work, good. With the fins on these, something I noticed if you ever build one, make sure that they should, I'm not sure what the term is, but they should angle upward as opposed to sloping down. So heads up on that. That was something I realized, and I said, oh, gotta make sure I remember to do that properly. Really good kit. You know, the one place I added a lot of extra detail, and you'll see this in my upcoming video, was the wheel bay here. There's quite a few wires and other things added. These, they're not actually actuators. They don't connect to anything, but I'm not sure what these tubes are. But these were molded on, and I scraped them off. There was like, you know, half of the tube was showing. They should be the entire tube is visible. So I scraped off what was molded on there and made new ones. You can see this kind of piping all throughout here. I added that. Just used a lot of evergreen pieces. This piping here, and then all of these little bits. And I'm gonna, at some point, I will paint those. That probably won't happen until after the wash. I'll start to paint some details individually. I didn't do much here in the nose gear. Not a lot's going to be seen. Just wasn't worried about it. I did cover up 3 really nasty pin marks, so watch out for that. Again, though, I mean, who's going to look up in there? But you can see there's one piece of strip plastic here, and there to cover those up. I wasn't about to fill them and try to sand them. That just wasn't going to happen. So, yeah. Other than that, you know, I did use a. I think it was an Edward PE set for much of the stuff in the cockpit, which I can't show you just yet, but pretty soon. And also this piece right here. It was a pre-painted set, which I really don't like in Edward. So I remove the pre-painted area and paint it myself. But yeah, I tried really hard to find a Quinta 3D decal set. There was one out there on eBay. I had it in my in the box, like ready to go. And I think I waited a week or a week and a half and came back to it and was like, oh, it's been sold. Somebody else picked it up. So I was like, ah. So that was the only one I was able to find. And said, you know what, I'll go with PE, photo etched, and it worked out fine. I don't want to get too reliant on the 3D decals. I want to, every now and then I want to do an Aries, resin set, or just detail what the kit offers. Just add super detail, add more detail to it. Yeah, I could very easily see myself needing to have a 3D decal set every kit, but I'd rather not get into that habit. All right. Looking good. I've got pretty much all the large stuff here at the back of the vehicle, or the back of the aircraft. I do need that number 8. Let's get that little number 8. Yeah, for this one, there was a little bit of film on the edges, so I just cut that out. Yep. But again, not going to worry about the center of the 8. All right, let's dip this. I used to try to get decals done in one session, in a couple of hours. Yeah, I would develop very bad habits doing that. And so I've come to the conclusion that I need to spend a couple of days, and that's just the way it is. And, sometimes you just have to accept that you just need to take longer. Even if the process isn't, or what you're working on isn't that fun. A case in point, is when I prepared this model for tonight, I let the gloss dry for about 4 days, which I never do. You know, overnight plus maybe one extra half day is pretty much all I do. But I sprayed it on, I think it was, when was it? Wednesday, yeah, Wednesday night. I said, you know what, let's get it done early so she's absolutely ready to go. You don't end up with any fingerprints and and I'm glad I did. And that's, again, one of those things where who wants to wait for something to dry, you know? But it really pays off when I make those decisions. Okay. All right, I'm actually gonna pull the 8 back just a little further. All right. I keep messing with it. That's totally my personality. Like, it's got to be down to like a millimeter of perfection. See, I moved it again. All right. There we go. That'll work. A little 8 right there. Okay, how we doing? Let's see. Yeah. Connor, absolutely, man. Reach out to me. Happy to do it. And again, if it's not something I can do, I'll give you this guy's information, or there's other people out there too who can do this sort of work. But I'm happy to help out if I can, for sure. I used the Tamiya masking tape, again, not the normal Tamiya tape. But their masking tape, which is used just for this purpose. And I used it pretty successfully. Most of the stars were done that way. I then realized that these 3 stars on the front, I had put them in the wrong position based off of, again, the decal instructions said that they should be clustered right about here. Looking at my sources, which I'm looking at here on my desktop, they're clearly more evenly spaced. So I sprayed this area right here, red again, and then used frisket film, which I'm trying to remember the brand. Oh, Graphics, I think it is. It's a pretty good brand that painters use. Anyway, so I used frisket film and masked, used the outer edge mask for it, and they came out much sharper than they were before. So, yeah, I'm still experimenting with what product I should be using. I got a frisket film set that was too thick, and I wasn't able to move it around the contours. I wasn't able to get the right shape. So I finally got a frisket film that was much thinner and actually more low tack, and was able to achieve these stars with it. Oh, what's really cool, yeah, I was finally able to use my digital calipers. You can see here. I bought these maybe 4 years ago in hopes of using them, and this is actually making these stars. I was able to, get down to, I don't even know what the measurement is, a thousandth of an inch, basically, and get just the right size of stars based on the decals. I use this set to sort of gauge it. I will say though, even though I measured them out, looking at some of my references, these stars here, which are aligned on these ventral fins, they were too small in the decals, so I enlarged them, each of them just a little bit. But yeah, I was so excited to finally get to use these. So that's cool. All right, stuff is falling. Okay, I think we're okay. All right. Always an adventure in model building. How are we going with your, are you guys working on your stuff currently right now? Or what are we doing other than watching this stream right now? Playing any video games or anything like that? All right. All right, I'm getting close to this marine decal being dry. So I think I'm kind of at the point where I want to start cutting it up a little bit right over the vents. So let's dig in a little bit here. Camera looking okay still. All right. Oh, you're working, Connor. Okay, cool. All right. Let's see here. All right. I need to pull this a little closer. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to make a cut right in the center here. And that should allow this decal to pull down and that side of the decal to pull down. Hopefully you're seeing this with me okay. Oh, there we go. It's a little better. What I did was I cut right down the middle of that R. And then this one, I want to cut kind of in the same place on the, yeah, right about here is good. Good. I think that'll work fine. So I'm going to start there, okay, with those little splices. And I'm going to add some of the microsol, and this will pull the decal down to the surface. I don't want to use the same brush I'm using for the decal set, so let's use this one and I'll set it aside. Hang on, there's no paint on that. Okay, good. All right, we're just going to use a little bit of this. Make sure you can see. At the location. Okay. And I'm going to start there. All right. Oh, you're repairing a bathroom door that won't lock for your parents' bathroom. TMI, nice. Yep. And Eric's working on his model. Awesome. And then also video games for Connor. Cool. All right. Right on. Thumbs up. I don't know if we have a thumb or a heart or something. Give me an acknowledge. Let me know if you play video games. I know at least one other person in the chat here does, Eric. Eric's got his own channel, by the way, if you guys are interested. Eric, feel free to put the link to your channel or your URL or whatever we call it in the chat. And yeah, feel free to share that. They're pretty enjoyable. I'm not a big video game person myself. Grew up with the original NES. We still use one in our house today. My kids will occasionally play it, but just never really grew up with it. But, you know, I appreciate it. All right. Well, Arnell, I hope that door situation gets worked out. Just won't lock, huh? All right, let's plow through here a little more. Okay, there is some discrepancy with the front end of this vehicle or this aircraft. I say vehicle a lot, I know. All right. They're showing here that the rescue sign is at an angle. A lot of F8s do that, and this rescue sign here is straight across. And I'm looking at one of the photo that one of the two photos that I'm copying the most, and that aircraft has the rescue sign going straight across. So that's the one I'm going to do there. And just a note about the stars and bars on this one. These cutting edge decals, they're very, very blue on the insignia blue here. I like the look of the darker, much more close to the, or excuse me, closer to the insignia blue. And I'm gonna actually go with these ones here. This is from a set, I can't remember where these are from exactly, Microscale or something. And yeah, you see 1999, so a ways away. And I think it was for an F-8J, but I know that these stars and bars are gonna fit just fine. All right, and I like how this one in particular, they have this sort, well, these two here. These two are different within this one, you'll notice. This one has a piece cut off here, and for some reason the white extends on. That was for a very particular F8, I imagine. But these two, this one here, I cut off spots for the film, and I'm going to use these two to fit right here. All right, see that little ridge there? If I remember correctly, and I hope I'm remembering this correctly, the F8 that I built about 20 years ago, I imagine I had a better time using these than using these full ones and then cutting them out. So, you know, which I could do. I could cut here, but I think I want to try the pre-cut ones. Okay, so we're gonna do that. I'm actually gonna go ahead and drop this down now, avoiding all the other decals. All right, we have contests where I'm at and where Eric and Arnell are at, and we go to the same contest, which is exciting. And I only go to these particular contests, and it's twice a year. One is with the Fremont Hornets, the other one is the SVSM, Silicon Valley Scale Modelers, and they're not having their contest in June. I'm really bummed out about that. Really bummed out about that. I got a lot of builds to show, and I always have fun with the vendors. Arnell sells his stuff at times. Eric and I will go. Eric will meet up with me, and we always do really well on the raffle, which is fun. Yeah, we did especially well last year. But yeah, they're not going to have it this year, so I guess they had a hard time with the venue. The venue is a what's it called? Elks Lodge. And I believe that on the day that they wanted to have the contest, there's a wedding happening. One of the members is having like their daughter or granddaughter get married. So for whatever reason, for that reason, we can't have the contest. So that's a bummer. Right now, I'm really in a mood to buy more kits. I got that F-16A. I've got a couple more here to show you guys too. I know I've been looking at my stash, and I really like what I have. And I've been kind of calculating like, okay, when I retire, I'm gonna have this many models ready to go. Is that enough? And by my calculations, it's not enough. Now, it doesn't mean I need to, have all the models I'll ever build, but I don't want to be, I don't want to be in a situation where I don't have enough. So, yeah, so I'm acquiring some more. All right, I will say the shape here is a little bit off. All right, so yeah, so I was looking forward to having that raffle and again showing off the builds and hanging out with friends. I love those contests. I always say those are my version of Disneyland, even though our family also goes to Disneyland. I'd much rather be at a model contest than Disneyland. All right, don't tell my wife that. Okay, this is not working out. The angle is wrong. Okay, so we're going to scrub that idea, which is okay. The decal appeared to be a little more shallow than the scribing itself. All right, no problem. Move on. Oh, sorry guys, it's not an earthquake. I'm going to adjust the camera a little bit. Bear with me. Okay, I think that works better. All right, yeah, there's Eric's channel there. Go ahead and subscribe and like. He does some it's fun. It's a lot of fun watching his videos. Most of the time I don't know what he's doing because I'm not a video game guy, but I do enjoy watching them. Yeah, Eric's bummed out about that too. Yeah, gotta wait till fall for the next show. Last show is April. Yeah, that's how it is over here at Connor too. We got, we got one that's typically in June, and then one like November, mid-November or so. There are other shows. There's one recently. It was more of an expo. And I guess they had some modelers talk, which is pretty cool. And they also, their judging is a little bit different than kind of the standard IPMS judging, which I think is great. I think, it was the what they call the GSB, the gold, silver, bronze way of judging models. I think it's basically you're being built off, your builds are being judged off of a sort of a standard, and that standard is the same for everybody. Let me double check the screen here. And I think that's great. I think it's neat to not necessarily have to compete against everybody else, but really just kind of compete against yourself in a way. I'm all for that, though I know there are difficulties in sort of enacting that sort of worldwide with all of the different contests. Let's see. Yeah, so there are other ones. That one was about an hour away. It was just a little bit further than I was willing to drive that weekend and bring models in the car. It's always, I do have a method for packing up builds, but it's scary. I'm not a big, that's the part I least like about model contests. Just driving them there and back. And then there are a few other ones. There's like Modesto, which for where we're at, it's about 3 hours away. Fresno, I know those are coming up, I think. So, yeah. That's how the shows I go to are with half of the categories. Yeah, okay, yeah. I think it's, I like the GSB version. I haven't actually experienced it myself, but the idea I think is, again, you're not necessarily competing against other people. And in a way, there's the potential for people who have built something and brought it to feel like they, like they've earned something for that, which is always nice, right? All right, time to cut out another one of these decals. Oh, I'll show you guys something kind of interesting. This is a really nice decal set from a company called Bullseye, highly respected, but boy, are there problems with this decal set in particular. This is for a combination of A4 and F8 and other things, but look at this decal here. I checked my references and it's not supposed to be that way. So, and then also on I'm not really just not using any of these decals. I might use a few of these little warning signs, but if you can look, the registration is off on these red lights and red and blue light here. and there's these little black dots are not centered. I mean, there's just all, and then also on the stars and bars, unfortunately, there's like a line and a line and a line and a line. You can see it all throughout the stars and bars. So just because the decals are new and from a reputable company doesn't mean they're always going to turn out perfectly. And then I also had that other issue with the bullseye decals for the F-14. You might remember one of the lightning bolts was the wrong way. And what's funny is somebody kind of challenged that to me in the comment section of that video a couple days ago. He said, "Oh, that can't be. You got that wrong. That can't be. I trust Bullseye, any day." I think he says, I would trust him any day. I was like, well, do your research. Let me know what you find. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to announce that in an upcoming video. So we'll see where that goes. But look, I mean, companies do research and mistakes are still going to happen. But that said, there are times where I really will I have like no choice but to trust the decal company. And again, that goes back to like, how many references, are we afforded? And luckily I'm in a position now with the masking where I can kind of decide if I need to go that route or if I need to just make my own. All right, so it's gonna be a little tricky to line this up. Yeah, we gotta really, all right. So I'm going to, again, try to line this the best I can initially and then do a little bit of cutting. I think it actually needs to pull down a bit. Let's see here. Okay, I need to find a better reference. All right. I have a really terrific book about the insignia and markings of Marine and Navy aircraft. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. Lots of information. Speaking of a contest, a good friend of mine, Chip, he gifted me this book along with another one that just dealt with a slightly different era. And these have been some of the greatest resources I've ever gotten. Really, really helpful. And what's interesting is there were some very specific rules about where to place this insignia. Where on the wing they should be aligned. And it's not like it's going to be different for every aircraft. It's like, look, if it's a fixed wing aircraft or if it's this is where it needs to go. But if you look at the rules, the F-8 stars and bars should not have been placed in this position. You're really not supposed to place any insignia where it's going to be obstructed by something else. So like there's the missile rack, which will sit here, which is why you see these holes here. The missile rack obstructs the view of the insignia. And so they weren't supposed to place it there, but they did anyhow. And I see that a lot as well in this reference book, that just because the rules say to do something doesn't necessarily mean that they followed it. All right. I'm feeling pretty good about where this is placed. Okay, I'm going to work it down just a little bit. Yeah, a little nail that's bugging me here. Oh yeah, it's following the contour really nicely here. And again, I'm using fairly warm water. And I really believe that helps soften these decals. I'm going to end up with a little bit of wrinkling up here, at least, but that's okay. Once it's dry, I'll make a little splice and then sort of bring the two pieces together. And because this insignia blue is such a common color, if I ever had a hole or there was a piece missing, I can always cut it out from another decal. All right. Just trimming a nail real quick. It's bugging me. All right. Yeah, that works out. Okay, let me, I'll show you that book real quick. There are some of these available on eBay. There are 4, let me see, excuse me. There we go. And they range different eras. So this book here, this is dealing with 1960 to 1993. So this is right up, right around the era that I focus on. There is one that's like 1950 to 60, I think, somewhere around there. Let me grab my second one I received. Yeah. All right. So this book is 40 to 49. So again, we're talking, World War II, really, really useful. And then I have the 60 to 93. There is another one that's 1949 or 1950 to 1960, which I plan on getting at some point. But these are available on eBay. I can't remember the price range. Some people are trying to charge quite a bit for them. But I did find some that were around $30 or so. For me, it was worth it. Although I didn't, again, like I said, these were gifted to me from a friend. And they're really, really useful. First of all, on the back, they have, they have paint chips, which we love in the modeling world. All different types of paint chips. Okay? And again, we still have to take these with a grain of salt, right? Because they're still, in a way, photographic representations of something. But I don't know. I think it's really, really great. I plan to use them at some point. They also talk very specifically about the way all of the insignia and emblems that we found on the aircraft need to look. Just really incredible. And then there's some information they actually give the directives. They actually go through all of the amendments and the directives and the changes that occurred practically every year or every couple of years when they had like new specifications about where to place things. So just, I don't know, for me I find it to be fascinating, and I'll sit at the TV, in the TV room, and have something on in the background while I'm going through and reading this book. And lots of great photographs of just everything from helicopters to aircraft, and it covers Marine and Navy. So I love these books. Recommend getting them if you can. All right. Need to let this insignia dry a bit. Yeah, you can see it's starting to get a little bit of wrinkle showing up here. That's okay. Just gonna keep working it down. There might be a little piece here. I don't know what that is exactly. Let me take a look on the other side. All right, well, let's see what happens. All right, and then of course there are red stripes that need to accompany this, which they left off so that we can position them ourselves, which there was a point where I was bothered by that, but I think had they not left the little red stripe off, they wouldn't have gotten the registration, the alignment of everything good. So I appreciate that they leave these off so that we can align them ourselves. Yeah. All right, how we doing, guys? You're not seeing what we're working on. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Okay. All right. Yep, we were unplugged. Okay, give me a second. Sorry about that. Yeah, it was for, oh, that's why it looks like that. Oh, shoot. Okay. Thanks, Arnell. Appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Is that better? Okay, let me bring it forward. All right, well, at least I was talking to this screen, you know, and showing you things on that screen. Okay, hopefully you didn't miss too much. Darn it. Yeah, it stops club nepotism. Yeah, that's good point, Connor. Very good point. Yeah, because then they're not favoring their friends and stuff. Yeah, I've experienced a little bit of that. It's hard to, yeah. There was a contest. I don't want to name exactly which one it was because, again, I got friends here who frequent those contests as well. There was a situation where I wasn't quite sure what the judge saw in another build, and why mine was overlooked. But again, you know, we're all human, and it's hard to know, and maybe there's something that I missed too. So I admit. Yeah. You're doing the Tiger Meet for IPMS USA Nats in Indiana. I'm not attending, but just sending the squadron models to display for me. Oh, okay. Squadron models. Interesting. All right. Oh, I'm shaking the table here. Got to remember how to live stream. Okay, Roger. Okay, good. We're working now. Great. Okay. Well, let me just show you real quick in case I didn't get to, you get to see. This is the insignia here I placed on. And again, it's wrinkling up just a little bit. Okay. Whew. All right. What else? All right. Just trying to figure out what I want to do next. Oh, I do want to talk about. Oh no, I don't want. No, let me. I was going to mention the other models I picked up. All right. This is the Wolfpack. Yeah, Wolfpack T-38A Talon, the NASA version. I actually built one of these, and I swear it's in a box with my stash, and it is 96% complete. Decals on, everything. I looked at it recently, was like, yeah, I did. I could actually display it at this point and be happy with it, but I want to do it again. I don't know what it is about this NASA version that just appeals to me so much. It's it's nostalgia. It just reminds me of like being a kid, and even the emblem, that particular NASA emblem. I'll show you right here on the side of the box. This one. Camera's a little fuzzy. Sorry about that. As opposed to this one doesn't really do it for me, but this one I think is so cool. Just the letters. I can't resist building it again. So I'm going to give it another go. The one thing I'll do differently, I was learning to do washes with that one, and so the wash is dark. So all the lines are pretty much black. With this one, as I've done with my other white aircraft, I'll go like kind of a grayish color, pretty much medium gray, and it doesn't jump out as much as the black, which is nice. Anyway, so that I'll be doing that one again. And speaking of doing one I've already completed, or nearly completed, I got another F-14A Tomcat. Oh boy. This Tamiya kit was amazing. It's absolutely one of the best kits I've ever built. And my plan initially was to do the low-vis VF-31, I think they're called the Tomcatters, and do one of the F-14s from that. I have the old Verlinden book where they were just on the USS Forrestal, and I can't remember what the other aircraft was, maybe the America, and they're just taking pictures of these F-14s. And I just, as a kid, just fell in love with that version of the F-14. The low-vis version. I know everybody likes the high-vis with the red on the tail and the Tomcat, but there's something about the subdued grays and the Tomcat I don't know, it just does it for me. And I thought that my first F-14 was actually going to be that one. I insisted on doing that for decades, honestly, decades. And when I got this first F-14, the first one, I was like, you know, let me do the other F-14 that I would like to do, which was Snodgrass's vehicle, the yellow one. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. So I feel now really confident that I understand what things might need to be adjusted on this model, and I understand just how easy it is to build, and I'm not worried about it. And so, yeah, the plan is to build the VF-31 version of it, low vis. Really excited. I'm not planning on building it for the next probably a year, but I wanted to have the kit. I will say too, I got it from Amazon. It's Japan, Amazon Japan, and it was going for $66, and I think it was like just a little bit of a tax, like a couple bucks, $3 tax, and it was shipped to me within like 3 or 4 days. So if you guys want, go to my video for this model, and if you can, if you're gonna buy it, if you purchase it through that link, I'll get a little bit of a cut from that. And there's no extra cost to you whatsoever. So if you guys, just a heads up, if you do need anything from Amazon model related and you go through my little page there, I do get a little bit of a kickback from that. So would appreciate that if you do order from Amazon. Yeah, so really excited about this. I'm glad to, and I'm going to go heavy weathering on that one. I'm going to try to match it straight out of the book. I don't think I'm going to put any of the Phoenix missiles on it. I think I'll put the big, I might put some Sparrows and some Sidewinders on it, and the big fuel tanks that go right under the intakes. And maybe even make a base of the USS Forrestal on it. Who knows? Really excited about that. Oh yeah, going back to the F-16, my plan for the F-16 too, with the red and white blue one, I got the old, what do you call it? Like the accessory kit, the old Hasegawa, where there's like figures, and then there's one of the electrical units, the green electrical unit with the hose and everything. I think I'm going to put that with the F-16 as well. So you'll notice from my A6 video that I made a base for it, and people have been asking me about it, and I have yet to release the video where I build a tow tractor that goes along with the A6 Intruder. I'm looking at it right now in my case. I don't want to take it out. Maybe I'll take it out at a future live stream, but I've gotten a little bit more confident about building bases and adding accessories to make somewhat of a diorama, even though I'm not necessarily telling a story, which I think is a big part of the diorama scene. I'm at least adding some things to the vehicles a little bit. So yeah, at some point I'll feel confident to let that video go. All right, we're at about 9 o'clock here for me, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. Any last thoughts? You want to throw them out into the chat? I'm happy to respond to. Thank you so much for participating, guys. It's really great having you here. I don't get as much done on my modeling sessions with the live stream, but this is fun. I really enjoy getting to share, and then also learning from you guys what you're doing. And you know, Connor's suggestion about the those files, I'm going to look into that for sure. Yeah, this has really been great. Glass polishing files. Okay, cool. All right, I think we're going to wrap it up here, guys. And I'm hearing fireworks outside. I don't know what for. Just waiting for any last comments in the chat. Yeah, check out Dallas 1942, or sorry, Dallas 42 on YouTube. Yep. Subscribe if you can, like if you can. All right, Arnell, take care, bud. All right, Connor, Eric, have a good one, guys. Thank you so much for joining. All right, see you guys. Well, I'll try to do next week, and I'll keep you posted, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right, thanks, guys. Bye. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. Connor, go ahead. What email to send you the mask info? Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to, let's do this. I'm trying to remember exactly what the email is for that. I think it's just modelingmaestro@gmail.com. Can you try that one? modelingmaestro@gmail.com. If for some reason it doesn't work, go back to one of my videos, one of my later videos, and in the comments, just say, hey, that email didn't work. Just let me know, and I will reach out to you through there. I think that's probably the best way, but I'm pretty sure it's modelingmaestro@gmail.com. It's not a, I obviously don't use it that often, but I'll give you my personal one if you have a problem with that one. Okay? Cool. Yeah. And let me know what you need done. Happy to help you out with that. All right, guys. Take it easy. Have a good night. See you later.